In today's video, we're going to talk about some nuanced uses of the word do, which you have learned to mean all or both. And today we're going to see some different uses of the word that are an extension of that original meaning. The first one is, it is used to emphasize a large quantity. All right, so what does that mean? Some examples. Here we have the sentence, 每个人都有罪. This 每个人 means every person. That's the noun, every person. 每个人都 all 有罪 have sin. I'm throwing in some Christian theology there for you. 每个人都有罪. 每个人都有罪. So if you're paying attention, you'll notice that every and all are together in the same sentence. And that is totally unnatural in English. It would be completely redundant to say every person, all, has sin. But that's actually, it almost is always used like that in Chinese, that a phrase like every something, every day, every dish, everything, whenever you have a phrase that means every something or all of something, do is usually thrown in there. It just feels natural. They complement one another and they're put together. So it emphasizes the largeness of the quantity and it makes the sentence feel more complete. Here we have a slightly different example of the same idea. 很多人, many people. 很多人. So 多 and 都, D-U-O, 多, 都, D-O-U. It can be a little confusing to differentiate them, but they are different. You just have to get used to it and it does become more natural. 很多人都喜欢跳舞. Many people all like to dance. 喜欢跳舞. So it doesn't really, the 很多人 means like, it doesn't mean that every person likes to dance. It's just emphasizing the largeness of the statement. Many people, many people all like to dance. Many people like to dance. That's what it means, but it emphasizes the largeness of the quantity. 我每天都过得很好. Here's another example. This is similar to the first one, where it actually does mean every. Where in the second one, it doesn't mean every, it's just many. 我每天, I every day, 都, so I every day, all. 我每天都过得很好. 过 here means to pass or to spend days or to, it kind of is like be. So the sentence means, I'm doing well every day. But if you translate it super directly, it's something like, every day I pass well. I want to point out the duh here is not the duh that you've learned. It's a different duh that is also a grammar marker that you will learn in the future time. But it's used to say, it's called a verb complement. It makes the verb, it enhances the meaning of the verb. So it's the 很好 here is a complement to 过. 我每天都过得很好. I every day 都过得很好. So 都 can be used to emphasize a large quantity. It's super common. It basically means all in its usage, but the thing is it emphasizes, and it's different from English in that you usually don't use the word all in these sentences. In this segment, we're going to learn about a specific phrase involving do, which is quite not intuitive to English speakers and many other languages. And so hopefully I can explain it and it'll make sense to you. But the phrase is 什么都, and it's used to mean everything. So 什么, you might know, is the question word what. And it's here the 什么 is put before the do, and it's used to mean everything. Okay, so let me show you. This looks very complicated. I'll have to explain some of these parts here. It's not actually that bad. You'll see these sentences are quite simple. But the structure is subject. I put it in parentheses because some sentences don't have subjects. In context, they don't need subjects because the subjects are understood. 什么, the question word, 都 or ye. And I'm only giving you do examples here because it's much more common than ye. And yeah is usually used in negative sentences. And then we have the predicate. Actually, I missed something. I should have put here, right here, it can be negated. Obviously, it's not always negated with either 不 or 没. There we go. So if it can be, if you're going to negate the predicate, then that's where it goes. If you're saying all is not something, predicate, of course, is a verb phrase or an adjective phrase that makes up the description of the subject, what it is or what's happening or whatever. Okay, so that looks a little bit complicated because there's some things are in parentheses. You can either do do or ye here, but and it means the same thing. Again, ye is used more when it's a negative phrase. All right, here's an example to hopefully show you how this works. 什么都很好吃. So here there's no subject. 什么 what? 都 all. 很好吃 delicious, very delicious, very good to eat. So everything is delicious. That's what this means. Everything is delicious, or everything was delicious, or it could be that everything in that restaurant, that's what it means in context. Everything in that restaurant is delicious. 什么都很好吃. So why does, when you think about this in English, it's like, what all delicious? What all delicious? How does that work? It's a statement with a question word, and the question word is being used in a statement to say whatever, talking about all things. So it's what, all, whatever, everything. Does that make sense? Everything 都很好吃. So everything is delicious or was delicious. Here we have a negative phrase using 不. 他什么都不干. 他什么都不干. This means he, everything, 都 all, 不干 means does not do. 干 means it means to do, but it's often used about like working or doing chores, that kind of thing. So this is saying he doesn't do anything. 他什么都不干. So again, this whole structure is very not intuitive because you can't translate it directly. He does not do anything. In Chinese is he, what, all, not, do. He, what, all, not do. He, what, all, not do. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, I remember in HSK 1, I said something that I realized later was not exactly accurate. I talked about do and ye, and I said that it always comes right before the verb, and Chinese will do all kinds of gymnastics to make that true. And that's usually true, but it's not always right before the verb. It's right before sometimes it can come, there can be a hui after and then a verb, like an auxiliary verb and then another verb. And sometimes there can be a bu, like do bu bu gan. So the verb phrases do not. Anyway, what I should have said, which is actually more accurate, is that the thing about do is that whatever you're talking about, all of this thing, if you're using do, that of this thing, whatever that thing is, it has to come before do, not after. So you're not saying all of this, so the of this is after, it's actually before. So here the shénme comes before the do, and that's what I should have said. The gymnastics, like the grammar gymnastics in order to make this happen. So 他 what? All of what? All of everything. 都不干. Hopefully that makes sense for you. And actually, I'm introducing you here to a broader phenomenon where question words can be used in statements to mean different things. Usually, not always, usually it means all of the thing that we're talking about. So for example, I think in the last segment, I had the phrase 每个人都有罪. Every person, all, has sin. You could actually use the question word who in place of 每个人. 谁, that means who 都有罪. So who, all people, like whoever, 都有罪. So there's a broader phenomenon where question words can be used in statements to talk about wherever, whoever, whatever, and other kinds of things too. This doesn't always mean the ever stuff. but it often does. So there you go. There's some uses of do. Hope that makes sense. It's a little bit complicated stuff, but keep going at it. You're doing awesome. Okay, just kidding. That was not supposed to be the end of that segment. I didn't look at my notes and completely forgot a particular some details I wanted to add. So what if you want to talk about a specific thing? So if I want to say everything, all of a certain thing was delicious, because here I don't specify what the thing was. How do I do that? There are two ways to do that. The first is to put the thing after the shénme. So right here we can put a noun. So if I want to say 什么菜, cai could, in this case, would be dishes, or like at a restaurant that has all these different dishes. I could say 什么菜都很好吃. All of the dishes are delicious, in that restaurant. 什么都很好吃. 什么菜 right here. 什么菜都很好吃. I can also, let me give you an example of here, and that would be, if I say 家务, it means chores. 他什么家务都不干. He doesn't do any chores. The other way to do it is it's like a topic first sentence, and we haven't talked about this yet, but in Chinese, especially when something's being talked about in context, like the thing was already mentioned, then it's very common for Chinese people to take that thing, that topic, and put it in the beginning of the sentence and then talk about it. So you could say, if I'm talking about a restaurant, if I say here, or if I want to say, this doesn't make sense in English, I would say 这儿的菜. That means here's dishes. The dish is here. The dish is here. 这儿的菜, I could put it in the beginning as a topic. 这儿的菜. The dish is here. That's the topic. 什么都很好吃 are all delicious. Does that make sense? So I could say 什么菜都很好吃. That's one way. Or I could say 这儿的菜. The topic. 什么都很好吃. Here, let me give you this example. If I put the 家务 at the beginning as a topic, the chores, the topic at the beginning of the sentence, I could say, 家务他什么都不干. Oh, we're talking about chores. 家务他什么都不干. Does that make sense? So those are the ways you can add a specific, all of something, all of whatever we're talking about into a specific noun into the sentence. Keep going.